Alrighty. Well, here we are, chat. It's another Friday, and it's been a few months, and it's time for regular maintenance, although who knows how regular it'll be. It's always this way, your car is broken and needs to be repaired entirely, or is it just hey, just need an oil change? We'll find out. Don't know that I need that excitement in my life, but, we'll see. Anyway, so we're all going to get breakfast, as usual, for one of these things. I'm here to tell you it's chilly today. It's been chilly in the U.S. Northeast for the last 4 or 5 days, but it's December. Hey, what's up? It's Barrymore. Welcome, welcome. So welcome to a bonus breakfast stream. So I'm walking down to the diner. Just got a little nervous about going across this area. All right, there we go. We're all good. Yep. It's time for some breakfast. I am feeling some, I think I have some eggs, some pancakes, and some sausage in my future. Maybe bacon instead, I don't know. I'll think about it. So yes, on this cold, late fall morning. It's hard to believe it's December already, man. I can't. December 6th today. We're almost a week into the last month of the year. That is crazy talk. Yeah, it really did. Obviously, when working in academia as I do, the milestones of the year do help those times pass quickly, which is, often a good thing. But there are times where I'm just like, geez, stop the world, I want to get off type of thing, because it's going so fast. And it's been that, and the fact that it's been, my goodness, what a year. It's some good moments, some bad moments. So it has been a very interesting year. All right, we're almost there. We generally, because of where we go to get the car serviced, go there, which is that Sherwood Diner. And that's the plan for today as well. All right, here we are. 901. Hello, just one. Thank you. All right. Just water's good. Thanks. All right, there we go, chat. The menu of champions. Hold on a second here while I get this sorted. Alright, here we go. That's what we're looking at. Okay, never mind this lunch nonsense. We're not doing lunch now. That's what we're looking at right there. We got the eggs, we got the breakfast sandwiches, we got the griddle, pumpkin swirl. I'm not totally looking for dessert and breakfast. Let's see, I need the combo thing. I think it's this one, the Sherwood Sampler. That's what you want. Got the pancakes, 2 eggs, 2 bacon strip, 2 sausage links. That looks probably, I think that's what I usually get. See, some of this stuff like chocolate bliss, chocolate chips. Hello, how are you? Hi. Good morning.
I'm Margarita, and I'm going to be your server. You need a minute?
No, I think I know what I want. I'm going to get the Sherwood Sampler, please.
What would you like? Pancakes?
Pancakes. Yeah.
And how would you like the rest?
Scrambled for the eggs.
And then you get 2 bacon, 2 sausage.
Sounds good.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So there we go. We are now set and ready to go. All right. Oh, wait a second. I got to get this. Sorry, I'm sure people watching it are kind of like, what the hell are you doing with your movement around stuff? All right, there we go. That's better. All right, so hello, chat. Welcome. I never really know how long, how many people will have stopped by or not stopped by, but I always enjoy these streams when I'm able to just chat with folks. So, and hopefully the stream is running okay. I'm getting a haircut today also, so my hair is kind of a disaster, which is why I'm wearing a hat. So, but I like, it is breakfast time. I do like breakfast. I think if I were more of a morning person, I mean, it depends on when I'm, if I have work or anything like that, obviously I'm getting up earlier, but I don't love getting up early, honestly. But the one negative of that is it means that breakfast is not as easy for me to get, which is why I'm a big brunch person, because you get up a little later, but you could still have it. Like, if I were getting up, honestly, if I were getting up at around, like, 9 o'clock and getting to bed about 12:30 at night, that's probably where I'd like to be. That'd be the sweet spot. So if I get up at 9 o'clock and I have breakfast at, like, 9:30, 10, that's optimal, so. At least that's the theory.
Yeah, he did Super Troopers 2. No, he did 2. Yeah, no, but the cabin fever was the big one.
Where are you at Barrymore in the world? I mean, you don't have to give me, you don't have to out yourself, but where are you generally in the world? West Coast? Okay. Wow, West Coast, you're up early. That means it's like 6:45 by you? Jeez, speaking of a morning person. Man, it's early for you. Normally when I do these streams, I get a lot of my European folks, because for them this is like semi-prime time. Right as, hello Echo, exactly what I was talking about. Well, I was talking about it's Barrymore is 6:45, but normally for folks like you, Echo, it's afternoon towards evening. So that is the plan. You wake at 4 a.m. and sleep at 9 p.m. Oh, okay. Wake at 4 a.m. Yeah, I have a friend who gets up typically at around 4 to 5 a.m. and I'm like, God bless you. I just can't. I can't do that. I ended up not Echo because honestly, I was super tired and people were real quiet at the very end because I think we ended super late. So I did not. But I have marked it down so that I can take a look later on and hopefully be able to raid that person in the future. Excuse me. You're kind of East Coast time on the West Coast, yeah. Yeah, that's the weird thing, Barrymore, is that my in-laws live out on the West Coast, and when I go out to the West, I'm always like, it feels, because I'm used to, growing up on the East Coast, I'm used to late night sport, like prime time, right? And like sporting events ending at like 11 o'clock at night or something like that. But every like major event when you're out on the West Coast, sporting event wise, it all ends at like 8. And I'm always like, oh, it's like a very strange thing, Yeah, the people who are in the middle, like the mountain time people, are the ones I'm always like, because the mountain time folks are always like, no one's ever in sync with them. Everyone's always like, they know East Coast time, they know West Coast time, they know GMT, right? They know those things. And then mountain time, and everyone's like, what is oh yeah, mountain time is just an hour less than West Coast, so yeah. It was so weird, like I and there's nothing wrong with it or anything. It's just like a very different experience. So. You're excited for today? What you got going on, Echo? What's going on with you? Oh, yes. That's right. War of the Rohirrim is today. That's right. No, I am excited to check that out. Over the weekend, probably. I'm not going to have time today. And tomorrow I have the wedding. Tomorrow's busy. I've got Ninja Warrior for my son in the morning, and then in the afternoon / early evening I've got my friend's wedding dinner, and then hopefully stream one tonight. But Sunday. Yep. Yeah, I'm excited about the War of the Rohirrim. Hoping for the best. Anytime you get a good sort of property that's associated with Lord of the Rings, it's great. When you get one that feels like it's just a money grab, it's like Gollum was the game, Gollum was a money grab. But I did have a chance to play a little bit of Return to Moria with a couple of friends of mine, and it's pretty good, actually. I really liked it. I might want to play more of that. But anyway, yes. So anytime there's a good property that feels like it's connected well to the universe and is not just let's just mine Professor Tolkien's work for all it's worth, then it's a good thing. So I am hopeful. Yes. What do you need to ask me? Mr. Bucket. I've heard of Buckethead. And I've heard of isn't there a political figure in the UK who runs like all the time for office as a joke, and his name is Mr. Bucket? Those are the two ways I know Mr. Bucket. Oh, no, I've never heard of that. Toss balls with it and shoots balls out of its mouth. No, I've never heard of that. You're just describing a tennis ball machine. I have never heard of that. Was that allegedly a U.S. toy? Because I never heard of that. I've never heard of a Mr. Bucket. Or what you've described is Mr. Bucket. Can I ask what made you think of that? You're introduced to it on a retro stream? I've never heard of that. No, I have a lot of stuff that's like, I have a lot of retro like things. Obviously, like I have my Dark Tower from 1982, '83. Obviously, all my D&D stuff. I have a lot of old board games from the '80s. I have my Mastercaster. That thing was cool. I actually that still functions. It's this thing that basically creates like small like Hot Wheels sized cars or like Matchbox sized cars out of wax, and it's this whole thing where it like melts and then you like run it underneath this thing and then it pours the wax in. I don't have the wheels anymore for the cars because I don't think they make them, but I do still have a Mastercaster. That thing is cool. Okay, I won't be able to check it now because I have only my phone with me today, not my computer stuff. But I will check it later on. Never heard of that, Mr. Bucket. I used to have an old laser tag set, but not anymore. I no longer have laser tag. Well, it's just regular maintenance. One of my cars, one of my Toyotas is 75,000 miles, so it's getting that service. And it may need to have the tires replaced, which would suck because that's more money. But and then next Friday, I'm doing this again with the newer car because the newer car just got to 100,000 miles. Because I drive the newer car, which means it gets a lot more miles on it. My mother-in-law mostly drives the older one, and so that's why the older one is like 25,000 miles behind the newer one. But that's all, just regular maintenance. So I'm hoping that this makes perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, food time. So here you go, chat. Got ourselves the pancakes. Got the bacon. Got the sausage. Got the eggs. Got everything you could possibly want. There we go. It's been a while since I did one of these streams, actually. There we are. Yeah. Oh, man, I miss England, Echo. I'll tell you what. I do miss England. Especially Oxford. Glasgow and London were both great, too, but I really do miss Oxford. That was great.
Oh my God.
Whoops, sorry. My case is not working. It's Holy Tolkien Land. But not just Tolkien, though. C.S. Lewis, like all these things. Also, hi, Lotwook, how are you? You spent 6 months of your life in Portsmouth. Now, I never got down to Portsmouth. I was all north of the country, so Glasgow to start, and then we took the train down to Oxford, and then went over to London, and then flew out from Heathrow.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Was it cool, Portsmouth? I just loved the food was good. Several trips to work.
Thank you very much, by the way. And tell Bobby that we had this conversation.
Yeah.
I'll probably do something today tomorrow.
The thing about Oxford was it was like
Play cards together, and
it felt like it was manageable. But there was obviously a lot of culture, naturally. But they even had like 2 soccer teams. Like they had a pretty good mass transit system.
it's a true. And of course, more of the story.
I really, really enjoyed it. I mean,
Singles has things twice as fun. And I haven't been able to
I don't know. I'm sure if I lived there for months, I might start noticing some of the flaws. But for the most part, it's great.
Oh, one other thing that I will tell you about.
The last stadium where the wall on the outside is butted up against Housing City. That's really cool. That's really cool, Lotwook. Yeah, I bet that was a lot of fun to watch. It reminds me of Little Arv and I went this past summer to the Lancaster Stormers, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and it's a minor league baseball team. It's actually not even minor league; it's really Atlantic League. So it's they're kind of a lot of them have ended up in the majors, but it's not directly associated with it.
Thank you.
And
Yep, have a good
but it was
day.
the same kind of thing where it's like the stadium is just in the middle of this town. Like it's not even a city. You know, it's a decent sized town, but it's, you know, you go along and like, so the houses are right near the stadium and stuff like that. That was cool.
It's going to be amazing. So,
Oh yeah,
but for the interim,
I can imagine. Yeah, that stuff is great because I feel like you're really getting kind of a window into the society, right? The window into the town when you go to something like that. So is Portsmouth? Is that like this the league below Premier? Is that Premier League? It's not Premier League, is it?
there's been a lot of things that he'll say.
Is Portsmouth at that level or no? They made it champions last year. Nice. Yeah. Apparently that happens a fair bit. They're literally in last. Well, apparently that happens a fair bit where when they get promoted, it's a big deal. But for a lot of those teams, they have a hard time staying up there because there's a reason that they were in the lower one to begin with, right? So they may have a great season, but then they got to go play with the big boys, and you know, it's cool when they get promoted and stay out of the next league for a while, like they stay up in the league they were promoted to. Yeah, no, it's a cool system. I agree with you. I think it's a really neat system. The only problem I have with sort of typical soccer play, as far as league stuff is concerned, is that it feels like there's too many championships. Because you can have like the FA Cup, and then you have the, you know, Europe, the Champions League, and you have that, like, you can have like 3 or 4 different championships that you're playing, which is like a little weird, and it sort of undercuts. Like I know there's sort of the big boy ones, right, the major ones, but that's the only thing, is that it feels like it's too much stuff as opposed to a more understandable, like, you do this and then you get into the playoffs and then you do this, as opposed to like, it feels like they're always playing for some cup. But otherwise, yeah.
I don't know exactly what it was, but Neil, to give him a lot of credit, he's gone through more adversity than you can possibly imagine. What was all that from?
The Danbury Hat Tricks games, huh? I actually live pretty close to the Bridgeport Islanders.
Well, he told me that.
And so my son and I have gone. I think I've only really gone a couple times because I go to a lot of college basketball games, so, and a lot of hockey. So Little Arv and I have gone to. We went to We've gone to Yale hockey at Yale. We've gone to Quinnipiac at Quinnipiac, and they were the national champions 2 years ago, men's and women's. We've gone to. I've gone to the Pace. Gone to Pace basketball. Obviously gone up to UConn, and then what was the other one? And then like Fairfield, Sacred Heart. So there's like a lot of areas, or places where we're able to go do sport things. So we've done Bridgeport a couple times, the Islanders, but not as much as I might have thought we would because we don't live very far from it.
So I give him a lot of credit, and he's like, I'm taking care of baby. And he tried to talk around how this first, and then the whole thing with the boyfriend.
Is the Danbury?
Insane.
Yeah. Well, is the hat tricks? So is that? Do you get to shout a lot? A lot of people like stuff like that, like roller derby. Like, especially in the city, there's some people who are huge fans of like the roller derby stuff, like women's roller derby in particular. Are the hat tricks? Are the Danbury hat tricks? Is that like semi-pro? Yeah, roller derby's wild. Oh, nice. Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, roller derby is wild. It's basically like, did they? That's really cool.
Todd and I would always just like we're talking about this. Todd's like, what do you think?
It's Babes on Wheels. Well, so roller derby to me is like a mix of, it's like WWE but on skates. I mean, a lot of it is like you have, you know, heels and you have like actual like. I remember watching. They used to have some broadcasts of it on USA Network, the old USA Network, which is also where they broadcast the WWE stuff. It's good things. Is like rugby on skates, a little bit, but some of it was fake, at least back in the day. Yeah, but some of it was fake, and they had, you know, like, I don't know if it is now, and obviously the skating is not fake, but there was a someone was playing. Ash Said Hi, who's a fellow streamer of mine on GOG.com, was streaming the other day roller World something, but it was like this Nintendo, this NES game from the 80s, where basically you have a person skating through, and like it was sort of a cross between a beat 'em up like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, and a person on skates, so she's like skating along. If you combined Ninja Gaiden, roller skating, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you basically, or Final Fight or something, you get that. So.
You should get That's what he needs to do.
I mean, rugby itself can be a little confusing rule-wise.
We'd love to keep the house, but it's not realistic. It doesn't make money in the window business. So buy another house. Right? But that's the concept. Very thin. If you can rent this at the number that he said, it's still not, that's not viable. Again, it's all about viability.
Does she do her signature move where when she knocks someone down, she does that dun-dun move?
I said to her, you know, well, rent it. I said, what are you going to rent it? What's the house?
Soccer is football, yeah.
What? So you saw the house. It's got to be.
I think a lot of U.S. folks get the idea that American football is, we only call football here as American football, and nobody else does that. Soccer is really popular here now, too. She has no signature move. She fell a lot. That's funny. Her signature move is to fall. I don't know. That would throw me off if I was like used to like, you know, going up against people that know how to skate really well, and this person just keeps falling all the time. I don't think I'd be able to. I wouldn't have like a counter for that, you know.
I know.
And then you got Australian rules football, so
yeah.
I do like watching American football,
I give Neil a lot of credit though. He would ask me.
especially when the Steelers are doing well, which they are.
Bowling alley. I go. I said, but this isn't. You have to make this house. By the way, that was my idea. Which is it too? No, but bowling alley in general. Yeah. I said, you have to remember, this isn't your house. You're going. This is a house you're going to rent, or you're going to sell. Okay? You can't be a Neil Kipper's house with a green diamond.
So, did she have to like audition for it, Lotwook, or try out for it? I mean, how do you get into roller derby?
I said, right now you have the master bedroom completely separated from the other five. Is there a way that you can link it to it? Yeah, I think you can.
Okay, guys, here we go.
But if you have a family, humans, and there's three kids in another room, you go all the way down the steps, go all the way up. So they go that way. I think the backyard is proper in the first Florida house. It's an amazing house. Listen,
Oh, very nice.
like, that's a big number.
She made the lowest level travel team.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Kennedy sometimes, that's a long,
You know,
depending somewhere decent.
it's a lot of these systems. A lot of these systems, it always occurs to me how much. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, it's so complex in a lot of these cases, or not complex. It's just so involved. Like, my son doing like ninja stuff. There are people who do, like, he has friends of his who compete on the national level, and like you have all these like local stuff, and if you get high enough, then you can start doing regional stuff, and then you can go up to the national level, and they have national competitions in North Carolina, and then sometimes those people show up eventually on like the TV American Ninja Warrior stuff that you see. It's wild. Like, and there are people who, like, that's basically all they do. Like, there's one person who's like national champion who's like 13, and her parents, like, I don't even know if I guess she's in school. She does like homeschooling or something, because they just have her going to like a tournament every weekend. And I was like, is she doing that, or is that you doing that, and she's the proxy for you? You know, I mean, I guess if she loves it, but I don't know. But anyway, it's a world that I didn't know anything about until my son, really started loving Ninja Warrior stuff. Even though he's not at that level, and I think he's too interested in too many different things to want to just do nothing but Ninja Warrior stuff for the next 20 years of his life. But they're pretty amazing athletes, though, and acrobats. But that's the same way it is for anything, I guess, is my point, right? Like, dance, any of these things, they have all these, like, multiple, this kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. No, and that's definitely a big part of things, too. There's a whole, absolutely, Echo, yeah. There's a big mindfulness component to a lot of these things as well that I think people notice. So, being in tune with your body, being in tune with the world, yeah. Competition should not be a requirement.
Yeah, I mean, I have been here a couple of years.
I think that if kids are into aspects of wanting to compete, and they're doing it in the right way, I always used to say in debate that it's not true, it's a false dichotomy to claim that you can either win or you can be, honorable and kind and compassionate with your opponents. Like, no, it's not an either or. You can treat people with respect, you can be respectful to them at the same time that you compete against them. Those things are not mutually exclusive concepts. But so if people want to do that, if kids want to do that, that's fine. The issue for me is when kids just really want to play, and it's the parents who really want them to be competing. That's when you run into some problems. And it's a fine line, because sometimes you want to push the kids enough to know whether they might want to do this at another level, because sometimes there are kids that oh yeah, totally. But sometimes there are kids that, sometimes you want to be able to push kids enough that they can sort of see, oh, if I really put this work in, I could be like at this level, whatever that level is. But you don't want to push them, so you don't want to just say whatever you want to do. Like, you want to push a little bit, but then you want to be able to also back off when it's clear that they don't want to do this thing and they would rather do that other thing or whatever. That balance, especially when they're younger, is definitely a challenge. And also, you don't want to project your own experience or your own sort of wishes and desires necessarily onto your children. So, like, I'm obviously really excited that Little Arv is going to get a chance to be Scrooge in Christmas Carol. Like, that's awesome. I'm super excited to watch her in that performance. It's going to be great. But, you know, I wanted her to come to that on her own. Obviously, I am an influence, right? Obviously, her mom is an influence. Obviously, the fact that we both love Dickens. Obviously, the fact that we love theater. Obviously, the fact that we are D&D people. You know, like, these are all things that are going to have influence on them. But you don't want to go beyond that to push something out of the normal comfort zone that is about you and not about them. Like, I never did any Ninja Warrior stuff. My sporting experience was through tennis and basketball and stuff like that, not Ninja Warrior. And Clea was a dancer, right, and a gymnast when she was a little younger, but certainly not those other things. Maybe the gymnast thing influences a little bit, but so you want to make sure they're pursuing it because they might have seen you do it and want to do it and have fun with it, and that's cool. But you want to make sure they're not continuing to do it only because of that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, though, for keeping an eye on me. Because you know how it is once they call you.
Yeah. No, she's been working on it. So she loves Christmas Carol. I'm not sure that the other kids that are in the performance that she's doing, I'm not sure that the other kids are into it in the same way. In fact, I'm sure they're not. And man, one of the things that really has to be, that is hard sometimes, it's so important for kids to give themselves time to understand whether they're going to like something or not. And if kids jump in too quickly and are sort of judge too quickly, and that's what young people tend to do, is they sort of make snap judgments, then it means they can be like, I don't know about the story sucks, blah, 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 instead of like actually letting the story work on them. I just finished showing my students in my Revenge Tragedy class West Side Story. Now, West Side Story is pretty famous anyway, very famous, and so the kids don't have that reaction, especially on the college level, as much. But there are times where at the beginning, you know, there's a whole bunch of, like, you know, Daddy-O and all this stuff that, like, you know, doesn't have resonance for 2024 kids when this is stuff from, you know, the late 50s, gangs in New York City, right? But if you give them time, by the time they get to the end of it, they're like, wow, because it's a great show. It doesn't matter really when it was done or what era it's talking about. It's drawing upon Shakespeare, obviously. It's drawing upon principles of revenge tragedy and the failure of the old to educate the young and all this stuff. But you give it time, and things, you sort of see the power of the work. And that's what always happens, I think, with Christmas Carol, is people might laugh about it until they watch it, until they really give it a try, until they see it, until they read it. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know, it's a great, great story. And it's a universally great story regardless of the time period. But you have to kind of be patient to work it through. You're one of them with what, Echo? You mean making judgments quickly? Is that what you mean? Because we all do a little bit of that. That's something we all have to work on. What's up, Darth Sisu? Patience in this economy? In these troubled times? I see what you're saying, Echo. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard. First impressions are a hell of a thing. And I think there's limits, right? Like people who say, you have to stick it out with the game because it gets good after 10 hours. That's 10 hours. There are other games that start getting good after 10 minutes. I don't need to wait for 10 hours, you know? So there are limits to it. But a game that you need to give a couple of hours to, I'm usually willing to do that to sort of see how things click into place. You know, a game I kind of bounced off of that you would think would have been right up my alley? being totally honest, is Disco Elysium. I played Disco Elysium as a Patreon-fueled game of the month a couple of years ago. I played it for like 3 hours, and I was like, it felt like a slog to me. And I mean, my God, that's the kind of thing that would get me hounded out of the, speculative fiction community, because, oh my God, it's like, if I suggested, I have no opinion either way about Blaseball, okay? But if I suggested that I didn't like Blaseball, and I'm not suggesting that because I really don't know much about it, but if I did, people would just be like, what? What? How can you not like Blaseball? And it's the same thing with something like Disco Elysium. Like, oh my goodness. Every writer I know that has any gaming interest is just like, Disco Elysium is the greatest. I was like, oh my God, I wasn't crazy about it. It didn't really grab me. Oh, I see. Interesting. There are games like I'm trying to think if Kathy Rain, if that company also did the Samaritan Paradox, right? I played the Samaritan Paradox on stream a couple years ago, and I'm wondering if that's the same company that did Kathy Rain. But how are you, Judge Sisu? Are you going to be pledging yourself to more patience in 2025? Mm-hmm. When you first said Lamplight City, I thought you were, it reminded me of Lamplighter League, which was Hairbrain's latest. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Wadjet Games, I played a couple by them. Yeah, I would say that those two, definitely Clifftop and Wadjet, are the two that to me are like the big ones in that space these days. Just because they do a lot of them. I mean, there are companies that know their niche, and that's what they love to do. Like they're good at it, and that's their thing. I always think it's cool to have a company like Harebrained Schemes that really swings for the fences on different games and really tries for different things that are out of their comfort zone. But it makes it difficult to kind of attract and keep an audience. You do Shadowrun and everyone's like, yeah, and Battletech, everyone's like, yeah, and then you're like, now Lamplighters, and everyone's like, what? And it's cool that they're trying something different, but... Oh, that's cool, Echo. Why 45 minutes? Is there no driving school closer? I see. Okay.
Your holiday is until December 25th. Yeah. Whoa. Everyone's running late to this year.
Yeah. It doesn't happen that often.
Well, that's because ours is because it's the last Thursday of the month for Thanksgiving. So that threw that off.
Yeah, I don't know how
It's always like that.
It's always the last Thursday
It's
of the
always
month.
the last. It's always the last.
they use a different calendar.
Oh.
It's a different year.
Oh. Wow. Yeah, I might have to do because of the
Oh, okay.
Thanksgiving at the end of the month.
I think I remember that name. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, how does it work, Echo? Do you like? Is there a certain set number of lessons you need to take before you are able to take the test? Or could you just take the test without taking lessons? Oh, you don't know. Okay, I guess you're going to find out. Yeah, my daughter has taken 3 out of 4 of her lessons at the school that she's using, that driving school, and then obviously she's doing a bunch of stuff with me, and she's going to do more today actually, which is mostly just driving practice, like with her, or with my wife, with myself, with her, my mother-in-law, and yeah, she turns 17 next month, and our plan was always after she turns 17 she can get her license, so probably, I don't know, I'm guessing probably around March or so, or maybe April, she'll take her driver's test, and if all goes well, then she'll have it. And then even when she has it, for the first year, she mostly has to drive herself. She can't really drive other people. And then as she gets further along in her driving career, then she can start driving other people too. A basic course, yeah. Yeah, that's basically right. She started with me and started learning from me. And then once that was, then she started working with school, which means that I can also supplement what they're teaching. Because honestly, like, I'm a good driver, and my father taught me to drive, and my father was a driving instructor, so like, I'm a good driver, but realistically, I mean, I got my license in 1990, so few things have changed in the last 34 years, and so some of the things that they've been talking about, like a lot of the stuff in terms of like how you can have your license, who can drive with you at what times, the fact that you're not supposed to drive like in the dark, like after a certain time of night if you're a particular age, like that's all stuff that none of that was the case when I was learning to drive. So, oh, that's cool, Echo. That's cool. And it's a good skill, honestly, even if you didn't end up driving all that much. It's a good skill to have, one, for like emergencies or for particular modes of travel, but it also helps with a lot of other things. Driving gives you the ability to understand, it helps with focus. It helps also with, not multitasking, because we don't really multitask, actually. We do a lot of tasks quickly in sequence, but we think of it as multitasking, so it's not really that. But it gives us the idea to be able to go through checklists, understand which things are important. It helps with spatial relationships too, about buffer between you and the car in front of you, the space around you, parking and what that involves. So there are a lot of good things that learning to drive helps with. It's not just driving. Yeah, get on my level, Darth. When you enter your 6th decade on the Earth, because you've lived 5 decades already. Although, knock on wood, I don't feel particularly old. So, but yeah, time moves on.
So I put it on my car every night. This morning I had it last night when I went out to shop. It's really fast. And it didn't need it this morning. But sometimes I don't know why the cars get that lost all over the car. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's because of the river or, I mean, I don't drive my car at nighttime. Yeah. But so I put it on and
But yeah, it's and then my son is going to start doing the same thing. He'll start learning a little bit from me when he turns 16. So that's about 8 years from now. A little bit of time. But that'll be good for that will be good for him, because he'll have, at that point, I don't know how much my mother-in-law is going to be driving in 8 years. She's driving somewhat less than she used to. She didn't really drive. She's never driven all that much. She drives a few times a week, but not a whole bunch. So I don't know how much she's going to drive going down the line. I'm not sure. But obviously, I will still be driving a lot. My wife will still be driving a lot, and obviously his sister will be driving a lot. So at that point, she'll be, at that point she'll be almost 25. That's kind of mind-blowing. So she'll be able to help with the driving experience with him. But good God Almighty. Thinking of my daughter as 25. Wild. Like we did a parent-teacher conference for her, and both of our kids, all the parent-teacher conferences went great because they're great kids. But the teacher, one of her teachers, in fact, all of her teachers, but one of her teacher in particular, looked like she was clearly young enough to have been my like, could have been the age of my daughter if I got started with kids much earlier. Like she looked like she was like 22. Just like, is anybody teaching now these days in high school that's, out like tops 30? Like, is anyone like this? It was something. Because she was like, she's good. She's a good teacher, whatever, and she's going through stuff, and I'm like, I just keep being like, how old? I mean, I didn't obviously say how old are you, but I'm just like, I said to my wife afterwards, I'm like, good gravy. They're like, this is crazy. Like, there could have been my own kid if I started having kids when I was 20. Yeah, I guess so. And you need, the thing is, what you need is a mix, right? You need veteran teachers, you need new teachers, you need different age ranges, you need a diverse group of teachers overall, because you need them to reflect, hopefully, the population of students that you're teaching. So it's not good if everyone is going to be 22. That is not good, and that suggests very high turnover, because you don't pay teachers enough, and because they get blamed for everything under the sun, and all that stuff. If you have a mix of older teachers and younger teachers, and people who've been at it for 30 years, and people who've been at it for 5, and people who are just getting started, you want a mix, right? The problem is what happens when you have all teachers that have been doing it for 3+ decades and no one younger than that, or when you have all these people who have been doing it for 6 months and nobody older than that. That you don't want the extremes. You want a mix. Because at its best, teaching really should be about apprenticeship. At its best, honestly. So, but you need a good mixture.
The other way around, it's the same.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's difficult because new people coming in aren't going to know, whatever the specific situation is. So again, you want someone who can kind of train. I mean, I'm a big believer, or mostly temps, yeah. I'm a big believer in apprenticeships, honestly. Like training, mentor, like trainer and trainees and stuff like that. That kind of mentorship and training stuff is, I think, not nearly enough. I think people do lip service to that stuff, but I would have, in college, in the college ranks, just for college teaching, I would have I would have new teachers be paired up with older teachers. And in fact, I had an opportunity where there was I could have been part of a sort of a teaching center at St. John's that I ended up passing on for a variety of reasons relating to time commitment and financial stuff, and it wasn't going to work out with my schedule and with where I am. But But one of the things I talked about with that job was the whole need for building up apprenticeship and mentorship and having older training younger, and there's all kinds of reasons why that works. Oh, for sure. But I think I assume that you're allowed to consult with them as it is, but the issue would be, I would say, it should be given like special remuneration. Basically, if they're consulted, they get a little bit of money for it. You know what I mean? So that you're creating a kind of because I know a lot of people, a lot of professors. I think there are a lot of professors who feel when they get to a certain age. There are professors that I know. One guy I knew taught into his 90s, and there are people that teach into their 70s or 80s who I think would. Thanks, and can I get a box whenever you get a chance? Thank you. There are teachers who I think would probably like to dial it back in their 70s and 80s as far as teaching. They want to do it full time, but they don't want to. Thank you, but they don't want to just retire completely. And it would be nice if there was an easier way for them to step it down, right? And some of them do become adjuncts and they just teach like a class a semester or a class a year. Some of them do that. But, the minute you enter the adjunct ranks, it's a whole different thing. Adjuncts are treated shamefully in academics. Thank you very much, you too. Academics are treated, shamefully. Adjuncts are. And that's why the universities are doing everything they can to push everyone into the adjunct ranks, because I call it the adjunctification of the academy, because they don't have to give them benefits, they don't have any governance rights, and they don't. It's hard to get them unionized, and so you don't have to give them an office. You don't have to all these things you don't have to do, and so the minute you enter the adjunct ranks, it's a whole different ball game. So I wish that there was something a little bit different in terms of how these things play out, where you would have almost they have a professor emeritus thing, but the emeritus is usually like this amorphous thing that doesn't really mean anything. Having a professor emeritus position that really was like, we treat you differently, we act differently towards you, you're given a particular, I would say even if Professor Emeritus, Emeriti have offices and stuff like that, something like that, so that there was an encouragement of keeping people around who have an understanding of institutional memory. Like the guy, when I got there, one of the guys who's in the division, my department, when I got to St. John's back in 2003, is a guy named Jack Franzetti. This is a guy who had been there for decades. He was there when my father, back in the 70s, was doing his doctorate there. And he was kind of a legend on the campus because everyone liked him. He'd been doing this for a very long time. And I liked Jack quite a bit. And Jack stayed involved for a long time. In fact, this didn't come out until later on. Jack had a heart, I guess it was a heart attack. And they had to go in and basically they had to do a valve replacement. And when he was on the table, one of the valves, another valve, ruptured when they had him in surgery. And he was at this point 88, 89, and he survived. He not only did he survive, he came back and taught again. So he passed away, sadly, a couple of years ago. He was 94 when he passed away or something. But that guy was a machine. So that means that when I got there, he was in his early 70s when I got to St. John's. And I've been there 23 years. And I'm not sure what to say about that. I mean, his students loved him. Because I think he was able to connect to them where they were. He didn't need to become a different person, right? He didn't need to become super modernized where he just connected with students where they were. And he had been doing that since 1960, whenever he started at St. John's, right? Whenever he was there to begin with, he just connected with students. And he did that decade after decade after decade after decade. So, I don't know, man, that guy was something else. I mean, and no one told him at the time. His son ended up teaching. Paul Franzetti ended up teaching at St. John's. Not as a full-timer, but as an adjunct. He was something, Jack. And I will always remember sort of talking to him about certain things relating to students, because there's just a great deal of wisdom there, right? I mean, he was at St. John's for Almost 60 years. He was teaching at St. John's for almost 60 years. That's mind-blowing. Can you imagine? Almost 6 decades of teaching. Like, the wisdom, the resource. You know, when people talk about someone being a loss, you know, any life lost, you know, when it's coming from a good person is a loss. But just the amount of things that he knew that he could draw upon. And it's one thing to be that way and to also be a jerk. And so people are like, yeah, he knows a lot, but boy, I wish he weren't such a jerk. But it's another thing entirely to actually be good at your job and to be a good teacher all the way through. You know, the same way when you got started at 30 as you did when you ended your career at 90 or whatever it was. Wild. To be clear, I do not want to be teaching when I'm 90. I have other writing to do and other things that I'm going to want to do and life to live and so on. So I do not foresee myself in a classroom full time at the age of 90 plus, but
All right, sweetie. Thank you.
we're going to have to transition to our tea place in a little bit and grab some tea. And then whenever they call me and let me know what's up with the car, then I'll have to deal with that at the time. It's all a very finely balanced chat. I have to, getting the car, once the car's fixed, I drive back. We have a guy coming over who's doing some handyman stuff around the house, like installing some lights for us and things like that at noon. I pick Little Arv up at 1. I have my hair cut at 1:30. Then I hang out with Little Arv until the evening when I'm hanging out with a friend of mine in the evening. And then tomorrow I have this, I'm going to watch Kalen, my son, Mini Arv's ninja class. And then I'm going to my friend's wedding dinner down in New York City. And then I'm coming back, hopefully streaming one Saturday night. So, and then Sunday should be fairly chill, but it's going to be a busy couple of days. And then finals next week and everything, so a lot going on. It's all right, though. As they always say, would rather be busy than bored. So even whenever retirement does come down the line at some point, some years from now, I don't expect it will be a sitting around doing nothing retirement. I know. I am actually going to have a course reduction in the spring, though, Echo, so I'm only going to be teaching 2 classes in the spring. But in the spring, I have the big storyteller event with Marie and Brandon and Brian Talwara at the university, so I've got that. I've got 2 cons back-to-back. I have Farpoint in Baltimore and then Boscone in Boston in February. I have the event that I talked about in March. April, I don't think there's anything specific in April. I think my wife's going to be away for a week in April, though. But and then May is the end of my semester, and then I may have Three Rivers Comic-Con, although there may be a schedule conflict this year, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But Three Rivers Comic-Con in Pittsburgh in June. I got invited back to ReaderCon, so I'm going to be at ReaderCon in July. And then Seattle WorldCon, because I'm going to be I'm running a writing track there. So I'm going to be at Seattle WorldCon in August. So, hi Geister. I said Pittsburgh and I summoned you, Geister. I thought it was that you heard me say Three Rivers and you were like, I was talking about I got invited back to Three Rivers. Yeah, exactly. There's a schedule conflict. I think I'll still be coming to Three Rivers, but there is a little bit of a wrinkle because of when they're hosting it. They keep hosting it later and later, and I wish they would not do that. Because the later it gets into June, the harder it is for me. Well, I need them to fish or cut bait. Either do late in June or do the week before Memorial Day weekend in May or something. But when they do both, that's the problem. When they're sort of June 1st, 2nd, that first or second week of June, that gets harder. So, but anyway. And then I got CanCon in October, obviously. And I don't know what's going on with World Fantasy. But anyway, so it'll be a busy 2025. And I got some exciting, I can't share this news yet because nothing's finalized, but there was some progress on the writing front regarding a particular project. So. No, it's not, though. It's just regular maintenance. The last time I did one of these was a few months ago when I did the last regular maintenance. I basically bring different cars in and this is actually the car my mother-in-law drives, but it's basically every 4 to 5 months, basically. So it's usually just regular maintenance. Although this time they may have to replace the tires. I don't know yet. But usually it's just, maintenance. It makes you procrastinate a ton. Well, as long as you can turn that energy into a positive direction, Darth. Sometimes you can turn your procrastination, inclinations towards something positive. You can channel it in a good way.
They must be an amazing
Yeah, that's true. I did have to bring the car in. There was a time when I was a little bit snake bit because, my mother-in-law, the car had a mirror break off or whatever. But no, this is just regular maintenance. Although in her passenger side car, the passenger side door of her car, the lock is no longer automatically locking, and that tends to happen to Toyotas sometimes. And the problem with that is that's like $500 because they have to pull the whole freaking array out, and then they have to replace the entire array, which is obnoxious. It's not necessary because you can just manually lock it from the inside. So I'm kind of avoiding it because I don't really want to get it fixed because I don't want to drop the extra money, but I may have to. You've been working on it for years now? Well, yeah. As the old saying goes, Darth, we are always in the process of becoming, right? We're always becoming something. So we are always, in a way, works in progress. The problem is what happens when you stop being in progress. That's when you're quote finished. That's when you run into problems. Yes, like my car. No, honestly, whoops, sorry. My stand on my case is not working very well anymore. It's because I have to get a new case. I've had this case for years. But yeah, the car is getting there. I mean, no, the car actually, these are really great cars. Part of the reason I bring them in for regular maintenance is so that I don't run into problems down the line. Where you start getting catastrophic repair costs, where instead of spending, say I spend $150 every 4 to 6 months, as opposed to spending $1,500 to $3,000, starts coming every once a year because you didn't get the car taken care of to begin with. That's the thing about regular maintenance. So. Oh, wow. I see, Echo. The far future. The far future. All right, I'm going to have us head over to the tea place, which is nearer to the dealership. Oh. I honestly misread that, Echo, and I thought what you said was, we danced all night and she's a smoker, but I don't care anymore. And I thought I read that as, I don't care about her anymore because, I've let that go. But what you meant was, I don't care about her being a smoker. There you go, Darth. There you go. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this during the end of the year show in a few weeks. It's dangerous to get into the business of predictions, right? But I think I'm not sure what's going to happen with anything, but I do know that communities working together, communities coming together become bigger communities. Communities that become bigger communities eventually connect and can make real change. And so it's one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about maintaining this community, about developing the academic community that I'm in at St. John's, about developing the writer community that I'm a part of. Communities are the things that make a difference. And so as long as we hold together as members of a community, we're likely to be in better shape than if we don't do that.
I had to go do blood work, and now they called me saying that my thyroid is my parathyroid levels are okay, but I'm being low iron, not iron, vitamin D deficient that I have to get.
All right. So now, chat, we are going to go head over. There we go. We're going to go head over to the tea place. So come with me. Pardon me while all the craziness happens. Excuse me. Thanks. Yes, same cafe. Alright, hang on a second. Gotta put this in my back pocket. Thank God for jeans, man. Thank goodness for jeans. Alright. So now we're out here. I think I made a tactical error in not bringing my bag with me. I thought that when I was not bringing my bag, I thought that was okay. Because I'm like, oh man, then I can just bring my, I'll bring my headphones just in case or whatever. But instead what it meant was I have like a bunch of loose things instead of just having one thing to put in a bag. Cargo pants. Absolutely. Cargo pants with like the random freaking loops. You know, like the loops on the belt for no reason. Or I guess some people say that they hold hammers or tools or whatever, but green in December. Well, yeah, we only got our first little bit of snow. It wasn't really. It's just like flurries yesterday, Echo. So, you know, a couple of years ago, we had essentially almost no snow. Last year was better. We had a few snowstorms, but, you know, global warming plus... if I was still back in northwestern Connecticut, yeah. If I was in northwestern Connecticut, they did get hit with more. But I live in southern Connecticut, and as Lotwook will tell you, southern Connecticut doesn't get it as much. Although we do, it used to be you would still get, it is Connecticut, it is northeast, so you still would get snow, a fair bit of it. Just not as much as we used to. I had to buy new jeans. Your old one's not to fit anymore. Oh, I hear that. Hi, Triffid. Oh, you used to love cargo pants? Yeah. Yeah, back in the day. No, I'm all about the jeans, and then obviously, like, for PJs, we're talking sweatpants, you know. All right. You've been lurking for a while. Aha! So, you have been secretly lurking. All right, we're going to go into the tea place, which will give me some other loose thing to carry, but oh well. Thank you. Hello, how are you? I think it's just like an English breakfast style tea.
Small or large?
I guess small.
Do you want any milk or anything in it?
Yes. Yeah, like 2% or 1% or
2%.
Okay,
Or also skim milk.
2 is fine. That's all.
later? Or do you want to
No,
go
because I'm going to be going in a little bit, so. Okay. Hey, what's up, Intensely, Eric? Nothing is sad and then something flying out of your pocket on a ride. Yeah. The thing about me is that I need the pockets, right? So like, if I don't have the pockets, and I mean, as it is, like, with this jacket, I've got like my charger, I've got this other stuff, and so, you know. Have you ever had a badass bagel, Chad? Because you could. Cinnamon apple and bananas, that's cool. I am not hungry, however, having just eaten. Thank you very much. All right. Time for a trip to JCPenney. Yeah. You know a place that I found that is badass bagels? A place that I found that's very good for that is this is not going to make any sense to the Europeans, I don't think, but Marshall's. Like, randomly, I remember going, like, when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I used to go to Marshall's with my mom. And it was like, you know, whatever. It was like this place that you went. There was like this, I don't know. It just seemed like this old-time place. And now all of a sudden, like, it has all these, like, brand names and stuff like that. It's pretty wild. Yeah. The thing about them is that, like, I like, they usually have some pretty good cheeses, and their the prices are pretty good comparatively. So getting Lord of the Rings, the Balrog and Tower of Sauron, he has to do 10 rounds of tattooing. Jeez. I don't know. See, I don't think I would do. Ooh. This is better. Wait a second. I found a better place. Hold on, chat. Bear with me, chat. This is better because I don't have sun blasting in my eyes. Yeah, I am not a tattoo person at all. No tattoo thing for me at all. Do not like them. I don't, you know, it's cool that whoever wants to have whatever they want is totally fine with me, but just no thanks. I've never had any interest. And I have to be honest, like, there's some beautiful artwork. I mean, my covers were done by a tattoo artist, actually. Peter Tikos, who did the art for the Grey Assassin trilogy, is a tattoo artist. So, I mean, they're amazing artists, but no thanks. No interest in tattoos at all. And I have seen, there's some tattoos you're like, yeah, I don't think that's it, Ace. So, I mean, geez, if I were going to get a Lord of the Rings tattoo, it would definitely not be that. If I were inclined to get one, which I'm not. But I would definitely not be getting that. Because I'd be like, it's like people who get the one ring to wear, and I'm like, I think we may have missed the point of the story. Like, look, I have my own one ring, and I'm like, yeah, you know, the whole idea was not to wear one ring. The whole thing was the ring is not good. Just saying. He's got more planned. Yeah, I had a friend in high school who got a full leg tattoo with like this samurai thing, and there's like all this stuff, and I was like, oh my god. And the problem was that his parents were really like super conservative, so he had to like wear these, like, he wore these super long socks, like, and like even in the summer when it was like 100 degrees or something, it was just dumb. Like, eventually they were going to be like, what are you doing? And like he eventually had to show them,
because he was like a sophomore in high school. And so like it was, I don't know, that was never going to work out. Got the Eye of Sauron across my head. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying though, Eric. Like, why would you? But like, we know what that means, right? Like, do you want to be under surveillance by the Eye of Sauron? I don't know. I mean, it's, again, don't get me wrong, it's really cool. Whatever people want to do, he wants to look everywhere. Yeah, that's true. Does he just stand there and then rotate? Like, oh man, it's too funny. Go bald, get a Palantir. Whole head. It's like a Boromir doing like the all-seeing eye, and you're like, whack, you know, like look at that. This is what I'm. Jack's coffee today, chat. Except it's not coffee. It is, in fact, English breakfast. All right, I'm going to try something, chat. If I lose you, I'll be right back. I want to try this one thing. I'm not sure what it does, so don't bear with me. Don't go anywhere if for some reason we get disconnected. Oh, okay. Okay, never mind. Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Eric, because as you know, I'm sure, the thing about this is often what's been described as the problem of evil, is that evil is often more interesting than good is, at least sort of traditional understandings of evil and good. So John Milton had this problem. When John Milton was writing Paradise Lost, his problem was that he really identified, like personality-wise, much more with Satan. Right? Like, I mean, the first chapter, you know, Satan, like, hits the freaking flaming lake, and he, like, stands up, and he's got his massive shield, and he's, like, storming across, right? And everyone's just like, oh, my God, like, wow, Satan. But Milton was Christian, like, a devout Christian. Milton couldn't be like, you know, who's the real hero of the story is Satan. And so in the end, he makes it that Satan becomes very petty and all that. But if you look just in terms of, like, which character commands your attention, Milton freaking wrote about how it was okay to commit regicide if kings were being evil. You know, like, Milton did not identify with authority figures. He identified with, like, rebels. He identified with people like Satan in a way, personality-wise, so. I think I remember that story, Triffid, by Larry Niven. Yeah, I think I remember that. Well, so here's the thing, Geister. The problem of evil is that it often seems to be the one moving things along, right? Catalyzing change and numerous things like that. But the reality is, and this is, I think, this is the sort of extra step that you take when you study it, right? Is that in fact, evil in the end is astonishingly petty. In the end, for all of its grandeur and all of its, I want to take over for this and rule for this and rule for this, in the end, evil returns to the most petty, selfish, childish thing you can do, which is, I want. In the end, evil comes down to, I want. And it doesn't matter if what I want affects everybody else or harms anybody else. In its ultimate form, evil doesn't care about anybody else at all. It's just, I want. It's very childish, it's very small, it's very petty, and most importantly, it's small. And this is the lie, right? The lie that evil tells is that it is this grand, sweeping thing, and that it's not stuck in its ways the way good is, and it's about. But the reality is that evil is deeply limited by the fact that ultimately it is about the petty selfishness of a child rendered in an adult body, right? And so, in the end, that is the way the evil is. But what I'm saying is, when you're first writing it, when you're first working through it, evil can seem appealing because evil seems engaging and interesting. And also evil bullshits a lot. Like, let's be clear about that, right? How many times have you read the same thing about like good and evil are just words? Who's the real evil, me or you? You know, and then what they do? They love to engage in whataboutism, right? So they're just like, you criticize me, but the reality is you do X, Y, Z, and it's like, yes, but you also do A, B, C, right? Like, the day that evil says, I'm not evil because I'm doing this thing which is actually good, you're the evil person, because that'll be the first time. Because every time evil describes why it's doing something, it's always, you too. It's always like, well, you say I'm evil, but you did this, this, and this. And it's like, even if that's true, it doesn't, like, remove the fact that you did those other things we said to begin with. Right? Yeah, exactly. No, you. Nuh-uh, you did too. I'm rubber cement, you're glue. You know what I mean? Like, and the whataboutism thing is the biggest thing. The minute that you hear someone say, this is happening because of X, Y, Z, and they're like, well, but what about you? The minute you hear what about, immediate red flag. When asking you about what about, ask about you. So, yes. So that's very important to remember for sure, Geister, is that, evil definitely is banal. I agree. I am convinced of it, in fact. Everything in both real life and in literature proves the same thing. Evil is always banal, honestly. But it presents, it kind of manifests itself on the surface as something which is about change. And it very seldom is about the change that they think it is. So. What abouting? Oh, yep. Darth Sisu. Shocking that a person whose first name is Darth would have evil tendencies. It's so not on brand. What is the deal with your name, by the way, Darth? I've always wanted to ask you that. Is it like, are you the master or the apprentice? Or is it like, is it short for Darth Sidious sucks? Yes. Look, Darth, only a Sith deals in absolutes, okay? What do you mean, yes? All right, I'm going to take out my tea bag. I'll be right back.
Right. So you can do searches online through Google or ChatGPT and just enter in, you'll just refine your search and say, and then list it up within, 600-mile radius, one of these mid-sized private school or a large public school, you can add all those things built into the list, which a lot of these councils go to anyway. But I mean, you can get, you might want to find somebody who works in an hourly rate, someone who's able, like, who charges like $25,000 package or a $10,000 package, and paying a $10,000 package is really cheap in a second.
All right, this tea is now prepared. Sisu is self-taught, so both. You came up with it like 8 years ago. It is amazing, isn't it? How many handles come up as a result of just, I don't know. It was like this and a bunch of numbers because I couldn't think of I used to get really frustrated. I used to use a particular handle all the time, and then other people started to use that handle, and I was like, so I was adding numbers on, and I'm like, I don't want to be this name one. I don't want to be this name one exclamation point. Like, I just want to be this one. So Arvin Eleron was deliberate. That was because I was, at the time, when I started on Twitch, I wasn't tenured yet, and I wasn't 100% sure how they would take it. And so I was like, wait, is that right? No, I was tenured, but I wasn't promoted yet. I wasn't full professor yet, and I wasn't sure how they would take it. I thought it would be okay, but I wasn't sure. So I was kind of like, So I gave myself a bit of plausible, separation. And then I was promoted and I didn't care anymore. So I could probably switch it at this point, but now it's kind of an institution, and I'm used to the name on Twitch and whatever, so it works out. But I could theoretically do a name switch and change to my real name at some point, I guess. It'd be a big change, though. I'd have to change a lot. So.
Through one,
Eric, when you came up with yours, were you ever like? Did you consider other? Did you consider like other adjectives, other sort of additional words? Musically Eric, definitionally Eric, definitively Eric. Like, did you think of other ones like that? Handles is the best term. Yeah. Listen, ask anyone, and I actually have gotten to be decent at it, but ask any author, especially fantasy authors, who have to come up with names for their books. Man, my DMing training was so useful for that, where everyone's just like, what's your name, random security guard? And I'm like, Karevis Kalavis. Like, I don't know what the hell his name is. Learning to do it so that people don't know if you actually had that name chambered and ready, that's the key. That's the key. The beard is desperately in need of a trim. Really? Until he was like 3 hours old? No, it's true. It's true. It's true. See, with my daughter and son, they both were characters from my first novel, and my wife, who was also named after a novel, and me, who was named after the most ordinary, obvious, average thing in the world and didn't want anyone else to have to deal with that. So, like, yeah, like, we just had it built in because, and she was good with it. I was like, are you sure? Because I don't want to be that guy that everyone's like, oh, you named a kid after your own. But she's like, no, it's a good name, and it's meaningful because you made the name. And I'm like, all right. So it's worked out, but yeah. But no, for sure, like, thinking of names ahead of time, because also everyone has an opinion, and everyone thinks that they're not going to like the name until the kid arrives, and then they're like, oh, that was always the name. My relatives were like, you're going to name the kid what? And I was like, this. And they're like, oh. And then when the kid arrived, they're like, that's such a great name. It's such a perfect name for them. Like, I can't think of any other name. I'm like, right. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about the passing away of your family dog, Darth. No. No, I wasn't even aware of that character, to be honest with you. At the time, I was not personal friends with Mr. Greenwood at the time when I even had her. Not when I was writing the book and not when I had my daughter. Ed and I didn't become friends until, I would say we had become a little more than acquaintances. I think I met him for the first time in like 2011, 2012. And we probably became friends around the time that my son was born, so around 2015, 2016. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Darth. That's very sad. I mean, it happens, of course, but it doesn't make it happy. So, but now it's a tribute in a way to that, right? Now your name is a tribute to the dog, so that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Her son Tino is still with us. That's cool. How old was she, Darth? Ten? Yeah. Yeah, my dog Lilo, it was, she was, I think she was 13 when she had this aggressive sarcoma. I think she was 13. And it was actually in the wake of her passing that ARFCON got started. And of course, it was really not about my dog, although she was connected. It was about, what had happened to my mother. It was about, all the other people that I saw. But the catalyst for it was the passing of my dog, Lilo. A Cairn Terrier. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, they go too soon. Did you hear, did any of you see that there was stuff on this on my social media feeds? Jonathan the Tortoise just turned 192 years old. Anyone see this? They have a black and white picture of him from like 1886 next to like a current modern picture. He's just living his best life. 192-year-old tortoise.
Won't have that they get rah about other stuff, but you're not going to be tailgating or flipping.
And they say he's still doing great.
You know, that's
He's like, he's great. Everything's great.
But so the best thing is to go look.
192.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the teacher, but yeah. I just remember Clovis being
Wait, what?
There's some classes that are just like, okay.
Too embarrassed about the incident. Yeah, 192. Can you imagine? Like, it just, you look at the face of the tortoise and you're like, God, he's seen 19 decades. Crazy talk. Okay, I'm going to decline this. This is my car dealership calling. Probably calling to tell me that something needs to be done to the car. So we'll see what happens. But I may have to leave you and come right back. We'll see. Jonathan, the 192-year-old tortoise. Man. All right, let's see. What does it say? Have you considered getting extended warranty? I know, right? A little late. The problem with those things is that they just don't cover what they say they would cover. Like, the truth is most cars, most things actually, are built to a certain point and they always offer you warranties that like cover most of those things. I guess extended warranties work, but at a certain point it's like, they say if you reach a certain age, you're likely to reach a certain additional age. You know, like if you reach a certain age, then it's pretty likely you're going to be fine for the next however many years. And it's the same thing with cars too. You know, you get to a certain point, if it's done what it's supposed to do, that thing is probably not going to get broken on it for a while. So, okay. All right, so scalping and shaving my head and face. Car's running on 14 years now. Okay, chat, I have to call back. I have to call my dealership to check in on my car. So I'm going to do that. And then I will come right back. But the stream is probably going to stop while I do that. So I'll be back in like 3 minutes. Don't leave. Okay, the stream's going to stop, but I'll be back in like 3 minutes. Okay, so back in a bit. Bye.